on Prater winning Special Teams Player?
Yeah, awesome. I mean, obviously a huge. I wish I would have known that. It's my fault because I don't check emails, but I wish I would have known that before the team meeting because I would have announced that. But obviously, he's one of our best players, and it's cool for him to get recognized. And everyone knows it was a huge reason why we won that game.
After talking to Rogers yesterday, understandably Prater is confident, especially with the conditions being inside, that he can make that kick. It's still pretty far, so what's the decision-making process for you of what's worth, trying that?
Anytime it's longer than like a 56 wedge for me, I get a little worried. But I have complete confidence in him. I've seen him do it in practice. So like when Jeff says to me, "Hey, the line is this," I've seen the line, so I feel good about that. And knowing that. Obviously that type of field goal, that long of field goal, the percentage goes down. But I see him doing it in practice. So you can go a couple different ways at the end of the half, how you want to try to score some points, and that's what we felt was the best way. And he banged it through there. So I have obviously complete confidence in that protection unit, the snap, the hold, and him banging it through. So we'll continue to utilize him as a weapon.
Did you see any of the Josh Dobbs video, social media, him trying to find a jersey and he couldn't, and he went back and got one? Did you see any of that?
No.
Kind of a funny video, just about him looking for.
No. Does he have his jersey in his locker on game day? That's all I'm concerned about.
On Matt, what was your thought when the ball came off his foot?
Thought it had a chance. I mean, like when you hear him hit it out there, like it's different than I've heard. I mean, I've been around some good kickers, but I mean, it jumps off his foot. And I know he said, I think he hit it a little dead-ish. I knew you got to line drive that for that far away. That'd be like a knockdown 52 for me, I guess. But for you golf fans. But, I thought it came off good, and I thought that, I kind of looked, and I was like, okay, it's got a chance, and then it did clear. But it cleared by a decent amount, so, great play, great way to end the half.
Marco was very critical of his performance after the Giants game, and then he took a little bit of a leap in this game against the Cowboys. As a head coach, how much do you appreciate when guys are as critical of themselves when they watch the film back, and what do you think that says about their football character?
Yeah, Zach, that's a good question. I think, he is a very prideful guy. We got a lot of prideful guys in that locker room, and when you don't coach or play up to what you think is your standard, or you feel like, I feel this way at times, like I let the team down, that's a kind of a bad feeling. So you want to be able to erase that feeling, but it's how you go about your business the next day, the next week. How do you learn from it? And try to make sure that it doesn't happen. But, the position that he plays is a premier position for a reason. Like, he's on an island. We don't give him a lot of help. And that's a tall order for him, And I always tell people, like, the 3 technique gets reached and it's a 10-yard gain, no one knows a thing. But when the corner gives up a touchdown, he's on ESPN. So that's he's very mentally tough. He's resilient. I thought he played well. He's doing a good job for us.
What do you know about Roy Lopez, and what do you think adds to that?
Yeah, quick, instinctive, has striking ability, smart. So I'm excited to get him out here today and get him going.
Can he play right away?
We'll see. We got to go through the week. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I got high hopes for him, and he was awesome in the meeting today. He conceptually understands what's going on. Playing a little different system that he's played in coming here. But I like his skill set and I like his brain.
Obviously, James is off to a fantastic start. I'm wondering, when you're looking at Keontae and Amari, how are you kind of evaluating them right now? It seems like it's taking them a little bit longer to.
Yeah, they'll get their touches. The game plan. The ball gets distributed different ways by game plan. You know what I mean? And then you have to be able to adapt in game of what's going on too. So we kind of talk about that as we set up the plan, number of plays, how many carries, how many, all those things. But I think Keontae and Amari are doing a good job with their role right now. They'll continue to play for us, and some games you'll see those numbers will tick up, and some games they'll be where they've been. But, with James playing at such a high level, I told you guys the run game's going to go through him. And with knowing that it's a 17-game season, we got to be smart with that and things like that. And we want to see those other guys play as well. But I like, how it's being deployed right now. I feel comfortable with their numbers, where they're at. And all of those guys are doing a good job to try to improve their game.
Do you have a number of explosives that you want to hit every game? Your goal?
Sometimes the game plan dictates, so I don't always like, hey, this is a key they know it's a winning stat around the league and for us. But I don't, put a cap on it or because you don't, you can go the other way too. You can play a style of defense that, yeah, you could hit that number, but other parts of that area are going to suffer. Other parts of your game are going to suffer, and that might not be the winning stat as far as that's a key fundamental of all three phases. But to win the game, it might be a little more of a blend. You know what I mean? Other times where, to win the game, we're okay, giving up 5-6 a pop, but we can't get the ball thrown over our head. That's okay too, So I think it changes. That's a good question, Josh. It changes every week, but we have to coach that. Our players have to understand that the ball and explosives are winning stats. Look around the league. So you're all right, Howard. But, I think our offense is doing a good job with it. I think how we deem those plays, we're one in the NFL right now in explosive runs. We're in the top 10 in explosive plays. Our defense, we need to get a little bit better because we're not where we need to be, in my opinion, with that. And really, they saw like a little lack of coaching detail from us, a little bit of execution in playing. One half of football, you go from in the middle half to in the top third there to the bottom third. That's what it is. So, and that was a reason that we lost that game. So. And then looking at San Francisco, they don't give up explosives and they generate explosives 1-1 in the league. So they know what we need to get done to try to stay in the ball game, give ourselves a chance to win. Go ahead, Howard.
Sorry for that. Back to the field goal for a second. How crucial was it? Not a whole lot of time left just for the offense to get even in position to try.
Huge. I mean, I think we talked about it. Like the defense, that whole last 2 minutes of that was really good by all three phases. If you look at it, we got the stop. They had a penalty, stop the clock. I had timeout. So think about it. But if you got to burn a timeout for operation in the first quarter, no big deal. Well, until you need them. So, I always am aware of, there's certain times where Drew will say, we're getting close. Are we okay, Drew? Don't worry about it. If we got to take the five here in the first quarter. And you don't want to do that. But timeouts in the last 2 minutes of each half are critical, typically. And so we didn't have to use some timeouts. They had a couple incomplete passes. They had a penalty. The clock stopped. We get it to 3rd and long, get off the field, bang the timeout. Dortch has an explosive return. They have a couple penalties on defense. We throw a couple, Rondell made that unbelievable play that got tipped. And then get it to, you need 6, 4 to 8, 10 yards. You got a timeout. You don't have a lot of time. But that's one of our situations that we talk about, that we talked about on Saturday morning. If this happens, here's your things that you're going to get that we're going to call. We called it. You would have liked to get a couple more there to not stretch the leather with that, but we knew that was kind of the range for at that point in time. Jeff and Matt felt good about where the line was at. And, you look at it, those 3 points going up 11 going into halftime, that's a big swing. So I was proud of all three phases, coaches and players, to make sure that we got that done because that was high execution on all three sides.
Explosives with the Niners, what else jumps off the film about that?
How they generate them, and it's really on offense. They got guys in every group that are really, really good with the ball in their hands. The schematics of how they play the game, they get the guys the ball in space a lot of the times. Purdy plays at a very high level, where, an explosive, it's a little thing, but because the ball's on time and now it becomes a catch and a run, not a bang bang, a catch that goes for 10 and now goes for 20 because it's on time in rhythm and the DB's not connected, you don't have color on color, that plays into that too. Obviously the scheme is probably the best in the world, truthfully. Defensively, you know, they got star power on all three levels. Their D-line train wrecks the game. They got linebackers that flow fast. They can take the ball away. They're good in coverage, and they got a back end that plays connected with star power. So that's a reason they're 3-0. It's a reason they're one of the better. We'll see what happens, but I mean, our team knows very well the challenge that lies ahead on Sunday.
Purdy taking care of the ball so well, is that something where like we want to change that, or would you look at different
Yeah, I
ways?
think it's two things that go into that. I think it's coaching and playing. From the coaching part of it, you can tell Kyle knows how to coach the quarterback. Like, he doesn't put the ball at harm's risk. He knows where to go with the ball. He knows the stresses of the coverages, and that's where he delivers the ball. And then with Brock, he plays the game extremely fast. So he's not late trying to throw it through windows. He throws it through the correct window. You know what I mean? Ball comes out time. That's what I mean by timing and rhythm. Which you got to get on people, and they have guys, they scheme guys up with the run and pass game. There's a lot of guys running open, which at times, depending on what coverage structures you're playing, that can happen. So we got our work cut out for us.
Have you seen any major changes from the last time you played them?
Not a ton, but it's a different team. You know what I mean? It's a different team, and it's a different time of year. You know what I mean? A team looks different in January than they do in October here or September, whatever we're in. So, but they're good for the thing that is consistent is what I just talked about. They're a good football team.
Any update on Zaven and Chris?
Zaven, I think, is good to go. He's got to wear a dark visor so he doesn't get nicked. You know, he got poked in the eye. And we got to evaluate Chris throughout the week here.
Where is Garrett, where's Garrett Williams in his recovery?
He's-
Is it looking like, at what point he
Yeah, we'll see. We got to make that decision collectively with all our guys, like I said. But he's doing a really good job. He's advanced some things that he needs to be able to do. I think that in the last couple weeks here, I like where he's trending. But that's a case by case, day by day basis, and we'll make those decisions when we need to. But I like where he's trending right now.
Do you plan to activate Kyler off the pup on Monday when he's available?
Why would I tell you that, Bob? Come on, Bob. Come on, Bob. I was kind of joking, but I'm not going to tell you. No, we will activate him when he's ready to go practice. That's what we'll do.
Does the fact that San Francisco's core skill personnel hasn't really changed over the last
Yeah.
couple of years, does that give you any sort of, I don't want to say advantage, does it help you scout them?
No, I think that gives them an advantage because, even with the new quarterback coming in, those guys, if you look at their kind of Debo and Ayuk and McCaffrey and Juice and, the O-line, they have a little bit of movement with the O-line, but consistency of playing with each other for an extended period of time helps, you know what I mean? And that's why what you see is they play extremely fast. When the ball is snapped, they play faster than the opponent typically. And that's what I mean. That's one of the challenges for us. We got to get lined up. We got to know what we're doing. They make you play in a way that you can't junk it up. You can't have in a bunch of new calls or you will get gassed. So you got to play your staples. You got to be sound and you got to tackle.
Talk about getting lined up. I know we've asked you about Kaiser before, but it seems like that's been maybe an underrated part of having him call the defense. It doesn't seem like you guys are getting lined up last minute, or it seems like everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, that's a good question, Danny. I got mad at Nick because I thought a call was late last game that we were not. When the offense breaks the huddle, I want the defense to have 11 sets of eyes on the offense. You know what I mean? And then you have to then make your adjustments predicated on what they give you. But Kaiser is a very quick thinker. He understands, the non-negotiables of you have to make these calls. If you don't love this, then you don't make it. So we don't put us at, kind of frantic, And I thought that, he's doing a really good job with that. He studies. We put a lot on his plate. You got to study and be about ball to do that. Like, you got to be on all the time.
After the game, Mike McCarthy was talking about the penalties and how he wasn't surprised because of that crew and how he had prepared the team. Do you guys prepare for what the officiating crew is going to be, and if so, how important do you think that is?
It's very important for your players to understand of what the trends are of the crew that's calling the game. We educate our guys. We show plays from the crews that are calling. Hey, this is where they're high. This is where they're low. This is where they rank. This is how this plays into the game. Yeah, we educate our guys on that.
Did you prepare your defense to get ready for this when the 49ers bring the new lineup?
You got to be, mentally, physically, and emotionally sharp, because they're going to make their plays. You know what I mean? They're going to hit you in the mouth, and you got to be able to respond. But alignment, assignment, key technique is one of our principles of defense, and you got to do that faster than they do that on offense. So, critical component to the game of playing them well, started on Monday. It continued on Tuesday. Today we get on the grass, and you got 4 days on the grass, 5, 6 days of meetings, and then you go let it rip.